Hi everyone. In this first lesson, we're going to take a look at the starting geometry. I'm going to go over how I like to organize my scenes in Maya, and then we're going to set up a camera. But before we get started, I just want to kind of tell you where this concept came from. So I came across this project in the Netherlands, and I really like the simplicity of the project and how clean it is. It's very simple and elegant. And I really like this first image actually. I like the lighting, kind of the mood of the image, and I like this water feature in the front. It's actually just a pool, but I imagine, what if this were something much larger, like a river or something? So I thought about taking this concept and placing it into the LA River. So this is kind of what that looks like. So the basic idea is taking a version of that project, placing it in the LA River, and then creating a second volume that's sort of rotated and cantilevering over. Alright, so let's open up Maya, and let's open up our project starting geometry. Alright, so here it is. Now normally when I'm working for clients, they're not working in Maya, so they're usually working in Revit or Rhino or something like that. So I have to import in OBJ files or FBX files or something like that. But luckily for you, I've modeled this stuff in Maya, so it should be a little bit easier to work with. So if we open up the outliner over here, we can take a look at how this is already broken down. Normally you'd probably just get a bunch of pieces of geometry in here, and I've already gone through and grouped some things together. So we have this site group here, and if we expand this, we've got the sides, we have these background buildings, there's the bridge, and there's a ground plane. And then we have our building geometry, and this is broken down. So we have the lower building here, we have the upper building, there's this core piece, and then there's this V column in the front, and then there's also some 3D people in here that I added in just for scale. And by the way, this scene I'm working with Z up, and it's in centimeters. So if we want to just check to make sure that the scale is correct, we can just make a little cube here. And then we'll set the height to about 180 centimeters. And then, let's see, just compare this with one of these guys in here. And okay, great. So that guy's about 6 feet tall, which is correct. So if we take a look at this building geometry again, the lower building here, if we expand this, it's broken down even further. We have the roof, the floor, the facade system, rooms, the lights, and most of these are broken down, even further. So you can kind of go through and organize it this way based on building, and then down to the sort of the component level. When I started using Maya, I actually didn't really use the outliner. I did everything by the display layers. But after a while, because you can't have sub layers, it can become kind of problematic once you start getting a lot of layers in there. So I really started using the outliner a lot, and it's really helped. But I still do use the display layers, and I find that it's helpful for larger groups of things, or more like global groups. So for example, I would probably select all the glazing and put that on its own display layer. So let's do that. So then I can just quickly turn that on and off, and I don't have to dig through the hierarchy over here to do that. So I'll just put the whole site on its own layer. There we go. I'll put the people on a layer. Let's put these the mullions on a layer. All right, and then let's just put the rest of this building geometry on its own layer. Okay. So this is good for now. I know there's some of these overlap with what's in the outliner, but this is a good place to start. And then as we start adding more detail to this, we can start to add more layers as we need to and shift things around a little bit. But this is kind of how I like to get started. All right, so now that we've gotten the layers set up, let's go ahead and create a camera. So go up to the panels, perspective, and then choose new. And we can go ahead and rename this render cam, since this is going to be our rendering camera. And then we need to adjust the clipping plane so we can actually see all of our geometry. So if we go into the attribute editor, let's just make this 1 and let's add a 0 in here. And then I'm going to change the focal length, make it something pretty wide, like 18. That'll be good. And I usually like to position my cameras about eye level or so. So if we switch over to the other perspective in the scene, let's just scale this up so we can see it. I'm going to move this down so it's more or less at eye level with this guy. Alright, that looks pretty good. We'll switch back over to this. There we go. And then turn on the resolution gate. Open up our render settings. And I know, well, first of all, let's switch this over to V-Ray since that's what we're going to be rendering with. And then in the resolution, I already know the final image resolution, so I'm going to go ahead and set that. Width is going to be 4000 by 2400. And now we can make sure we're framing things up correctly. So once I kind of get the view that I want more or less, I can go over back into the attribute editor and click on this first tab, and I can start adjusting these values for a little bit more precision. And if you didn't already know, you can hold down Control and then left click in any of these boxes and move your mouse, and you can start changing these values without having to key in a number, which is something that I wish I had learned a lot earlier. So let's do something like this. Now, one thing clients always seem to want, they want to have all the verticals to be straight. So to do that, let's click on this camera icon again. We'll set this X rotation to 90, so we're looking straight ahead and all the verticals are straight. Then we can go back over to the render cam shape and scroll down to the film offset here. And then we can adjust this second value and just shift it up. Something like that. Looks like it's framing everything pretty good and all the verticals are straight. So everybody should be happy. And once we have that set up, we can go over here and just bookmark this view so we don't lose it. Just type something in and hit apply. And there we go. Alright, so now that we have the view set up, in the next lesson we can start adding in some more detail that'll be visible from this camera.